What's going on, guys? Today I'm bringing you a guide on Battlegrounds, specifically on firepower. Full disclaimer here, I'm no professional player, these are just a few tips I find that really help me on winning firefights. Let's get right into it. Your ability to win firefights, or as I call it, firepower, is split into two parts: exposure and control. Exposure is the time you could expose yourself to enemy gunfire. In this case, it's the time frame you peek or lean out of cover to kill someone. If you have cover, of course. In this video, I'm gonna assume you have located your enemy and have cover against him, because getting shot from the back or getting shot in an open field while you're running often already puts you in a losing position, and that topic will be for another vid. The rule of thumb here is the lower your exposure, the higher chance it is for you to win that fight. That is because if you expose yourself less to the gunfight, the lesser the enemy and other enemies can shoot at you. In short, you want to be really fast. Like really fast. Here's an example. In this clip, you can actually see that after I take the first two shots at this enemy, I immediately go back into cover. And you can see the enemy try to shoot me from the impact of the grass, right here. This is important as the lesser I lean out, or the faster I lean back in, the lesser the chance of me getting killed. You can see this happen again when I try to shoot his buddy here. You can actually see him try to lean out and shoot me. If I had overcommitted to that lean, I'd probably take a shot or two from him, and that would probably decrease my chances of winning that firefight. Now you might be asking, how do you effectively reduce exposure time? The first is to improve your reaction time. Now reaction time is the time it takes from when you peek out on your enemy, your brain translates that information and sends instructions to your hand to shoot. This often can be improved by playing more of FPS games, or just doing brain exercises on Google. Just Google brain exercises to improve reaction time, and try some of them out. The second way is using the E and Q lean mechanic. As most guides have already mentioned it is a good way to reduce both your body exposure and exposure time. Just remember to have some variations in your lean so you confuse your enemy. Third is crosshair placement. Before even leaning with the E and Q mechanic, the crosshair has to be placed in the direction of the enemy, so that minimal adjustment is needed when you lean and fire. This will reduce exposure significantly, as it reduces the time it takes for you to adjust your crosshair on the enemy. Here's an example. In this clip, you can see me healing against an enemy right here. You can see that his head is up and he's peeking at me. I call this pre-aim. As you can imagine from his screen, he probably has scoped in towards the left or right side of this tree, so that when I peek out, he will have the first shot. In order to win this firefight, I would have to be faster than that first shot. And this can be improved by having my crosshair placed on the enemy even before I'm leaning out. It won't be accurately placed on him, but you can actually guess the general direction he's in. And in this case, it's here. And that's what ended up happening. Let's slow it down. You can see, right after I lean out, right after the ADS has fully scoped in, as soon as it fully scopes in, I shot. This is because I didn't have to do any readjustment. When I scoped in, my crosshair was almost on point on the enemy's head. And this was helped by me placing my general crosshair on the direction of the enemy before even scoping in. Fourth is only taking a set amount of shots when leaning out before leaning back in. Whenever you expose yourself to fire at enemies, make it a habit to lean back into cover when you have taken 3 to 5 shots, even if you have missed those shots. This is extremely important because when you commit yourself to a lean, most people won't stop until the enemy is dead. You have to realize that sometimes you may miss shots, and you may not be able to finish your enemy off, which in case you should not overcommit and get back into cover before the enemy kills you. In this clip, there are 2 people alive, and I am left to battle this guy in a 1v1 situation. I have located him, and I have cover against him. You can see me taking a set amount of shots at him before even leaning back into cover. Even if I have missed those shots, it doesn't matter. I just want to try to shoot at him and lean back into cover as quick as possible. You can see me doing this really fast, and if anything happens to me, like here, I can just heal behind cover. And I actually ended up winning this game.
Wait! 我知道。
是我啊。
快啲咯，下得跳啊！
是啊。Fifth is shooting even before fully scoped in, almost like pre-firing. Since PUBG has an ADS animation mechanic that takes up some time, you want to eliminate that by shooting even before the ADS animation has finished. This takes a huge amount of practice, and you might even miss the first few shots during the start, but it helps to increase your speed significantly. A tip I can give you is, when you're doing pre-firing, you will want to have good crosshair placement, so that when you fire, your first few shots will hit. You can see here in this clip, even before I have scoped in, I have already shot, and With that kind of speed, no one can kill you. Next, we'll be talking about control. Control includes everything the hand does, which can be from controlling recoils, readjusting your aim, or leading shots. Let's talk about the first most important step to have good control. A good mouse and a good sensitivity. Everyone has a different feel for their mice and sensitivity, hence, there is no definite answer to the best mouse for you. You have to find a good mouse for yourself and adjust the sensitivity according which fits you. When you readjust your aim, are you over-adjusting? If so, you might want to lower your sensitivity and try again. For reference, I personally use the Microsoft IE 3.0 mouse, which has 400 dpi and a 500Hz polling rate. If you prefer higher dpi, I would suggest not to exceed the 3000 mark, as it would cause problems with your aim. For references, you could Google what professional players use by searching for their inch per 360 degree turns. Now that's out of the way, let's move on to controlling recoil. Although this does not apply to bolt action rifles, you probably want to get a feel of the gun's recoil before firing. The recoils of guns can be controlled by pulling down on your mouse whilst firing. If you just started, get a feel for the single fire and learn to stick with that until you can comfortably spam single fire and be able to hit your mark. This takes practice. Once you have mastered the pulling down motion, you can start by trying on full auto. However, I strongly suggest that you do not full auto on enemies anywhere further than 50 meters. Learn to switch between single fire and full auto before each fight, depending on the situation you are in. Are you pushing into a building? You might want to have full auto on. Are you on an open field? You might want to have the single on. Let's talk about muscle memory next. In FPS games, you often need to readjust your aim. At the very least when you ADS, there's a small distance you will have to readjust to hit your mark. You can practice adjustment by playing more FPS games, or just going into practice range and consistently dragging your mouse from one spot to another. Let's try dragging your mouse accurately from this spot to this spot 100 times. How many times can you accurately readjust your aim? Practice this and you will start to develop muscle memory, which is important in adjustment. Let's go back to crosshair placement, as this plays a huge role in control as well. As mentioned previously, you want to place your crosshair as close to the enemy as possible so that when you ADS or when you scope in, less adjustment is needed and hence less control is needed. This in turn also decreases exposure time and helps you reduce error in your aim. You can see why this is important. Now, after knowing your conditions to winning your firefights, you must identify that certain situation calls for certain requirements. In some situations, speed is prioritized over control, and vice versa. Here's an example. In this clip, I spot two enemies who are unaware of my position. Since they are unaware of my position, they pose no threat to me. And when I take the shot, you can see that I take my time to adjust my aim for the headshot. If I miss the headshot, or if I even miss the shot entirely, they'll probably know where I am and start to take cover against me. Hence, they will start to pose a threat to me, and I would have two more guys to worry about. That is why control is prioritized over speed in this situation. You will want to take your time and make sure you hit the head, instead of trying to be fast and not dying here. I see many people rushing their shots and ended up missing their shots in very unnecessary situations. Here's another clip. This guy is running in an open field, and I have complete cover against him. There is no need to rush my shots. You can see me taking my time for the aim. Although I missed the first few shots, I did end up killing him. If I had taken more time in adjusting my aim, I would probably even hit the first few shots. That is why it's important to identify the requirements in certain situations. Do you have cover against your enemy? Are you being shot from the back? Does the enemy know your position? Is the enemy even shooting at you? The only time that you want to prioritize speed over control is when you are engaging in a firefight directly against another enemy who is also firing at you, or if an enemy is firing at your teammate and you're trying to save him. Play the game long enough and you'll learn to know these type of situations. Lastly, you would want to drop in high density areas like the major cities or the melee base to expose yourself to firefights. Only by engaging in more firefights, you would know how to win them. You can also try out different games, like Battlefield or Overwatch, since PUBG has little firefight uptime. If you enjoyed the video and felt that it was informative, please give it a like and share it with your friends. Subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content, and I'll see you next time.